I'm reporting from Northampton, Massachusetts. Oh. People talking round this room don't realize the state I'm in. I just wanna leave this place and come running right into it. No, this ain't no substitute. Let's get it right. And I don't wanna stay in this room, 'cause there's nothing here of you. I'm gonna turn and burn out that door and come home to you. I was married for about 6 years, and I guess my ex-husband was a musician as well, and I was kind of like very much in his shadow, I think, in a lot of ways. And I didn't pick up a guitar for years, you know. I just kind of played bass in Mojave and did the backing vocals and stuff. I was kind of quite happy skipping along in that sense, but I had some quite ill health sort of through the latter half of the 90s. I had suffered from panic attacks and things, which stemmed from my eardrum bursting. So I wasn't really kind of healthy enough and well enough in myself to be doing any writing and stuff. But I kind of got well. I got out of my marriage and picked up the guitar, and it was quite a revelation to me to do that, you know, because I haven't really done it for years and years, and I found myself on my own. I had about a year where I was on my own and just started writing, and it all just came out. So that was an amazing release. It was very liberating. You know, Slowdive ended 10 years ago, and for me it seems like it seems like a completely different lifetime. It's so long ago, and we were all very different. You know, we were very young. We were 19 when we got signed, and we had kind of a whirlwind first couple of years were pretty mental. You know, it was just, I kind of have vague snippets of memory, you know, of certain things. But it's just, I don't know, it's kind of frustrating that we can't release stuff ourselves. Like, we can't release Pygmalion ourselves because it was never released in North America. And that is something that Neil keeps saying, you know, we want to do, and it would be nice to be able to do that. But I think for the moment we're just kind of concentrating on now. Really, maybe when we're like 40 or something, we might sort of go, all right, because now it's time to do it, you know. But I think we're all kind of caught up in just living life now, really. made me feel really old when I heard that it was being done, a tribute album, and I just thought, wow, you know, I kind of associate tribute records with dead people, or you know, all the great artists that have died or passed on or whatever. So it was kind of weird, but really flattering, and it's still. I mean, I find it quite amazing the fact that people still love Slowdive and are still so kind of, you know, into all of that, and it's great, you know. But it's kind of like, I don't know, there's been another 10 years since then, and there's Mojave with 4 albums, and Neil's done his own thing, I'm doing my own thing, and it's kind of like, you know, I'm 33 now, I was 19 then, you know. It's like a big difference, a lot's happened. I've got this theory with bands that things go in 10-year cycles, where you know, with popularity, where you have your 15 minutes at the beginning. Some people are really lucky and they just get huge, and some people don't, you know, and they just plod along. They just keep releasing good records. I hope, you know, that's always been our intention, just to keep making good music. And with Ulrich, I mean, I've not actually met him. I know that he did a song on the More compilation, and he's a huge Slowdive fan. And he's actually doing, he did stuff for Neil. I think Neil's returning the favour, I've heard, and he's going to do something for Ulrich. And Ulrich is going to do a remix of Coastline for me as well, which will be interesting. I've always thought that would be a good one, because so much going on in that song. It was like a perfect song to mess about with, and so I'm excited about hearing that, you know.
And I'm not a sinner, and I don't need your lies. I'm just getting on with this, getting on with my life. Stop trying to break me with your sorrow and pain. Take a look at yourself, you're only to blame. Just accept this, don't turn away. You're not the only one here to save yourself. Just accept this, don't turn away. You're not the only one here to save yourself. Here to save yourself. And I don't wanna hear this anymore. And I don't wanna hear this anymore.
The first Slowdive album, we lied to creation and said we had an album's worth of material when we didn't. And they'd already signed us by that point, so it was fine, you know, they weren't going to drop us or anything. But that album, pretty much all of it was just written in the studio as we went along. So that was kind of that record, really. Souvlaki was done completely differently, where Neil had written written basic songs, and we all went into rehearsal space and just played them all out live, got them really good, and then recorded them pretty much live. I mean, that all the albums have, do have like certain reference points along the way, I suppose, significant things that have happened in our lives along the way. When by the time it came to Pygmalion, Neil was kind of quite into sort of techno music and being very experimental with hallucinogenics. And as was I, actually, but we were kind of doing it separately. So we were both kind of dabbling in that, and Neil was living with Mark Van Hoen, who's, Mr. Electronic, and Darren from Seafeel as well. So he had those kind of influences around him, in a big way. First Mojave record, I mean, that actually would have been the fourth Slowdive record if we hadn't been dropped, because Pygmalion was actually finished a year before it was released. We had to wait a year. I can't remember why. I think it was by that time Sony had bought into Creation, and it was all just going belly up. And we knew kind of around Souflaki that they'd lost interest in us, so we decided the third record would just be really weird and just fucked up, because we knew they wouldn't understand it. And we kind of wanted to get off the label at that point, and we knew that they didn't want us on the label, so it was kind of a mutual thing, but they kind of had to do the thing of, we're not going to pick you up for another record, so that was cool. So there was probably like a 2-year gap where Neil was writing songs, which turned into most of Ask Me Tomorrow, which a lot of that was demos anyway. Out of Tune was an album, very much a live album, where it was all written, we rehearsed it all and then put it all down like that. That was good fun. Excuses was kind of more studio based. Spoon and Rafter was kind of like mixed, really. I didn't have a lot of involvement with it, because by the time the recording really got going on that, I was heavily involved in doing my own record. And it was like, I think it was, I don't even know, 2 years in the making, Spoon and Rafter. It was a long time. And the studio's down in Cornwall, which is 5 hours away from where I live in London. So logistically it's kind of difficult for me, because I have a day job as well. So it's kind of hard to get down to Cornwall, just to do bits and bobs. So we have to really plan things. And the next Mojave album, it's kind of, Neil and Ian are already working on it. They live down in Cornwall, so they've been on it for a few months. I think Alan's just taken 3 months off work to go down there. I don't know when I'm going down. In a month's time or something, I don't know. But it's kind of, it gets harder to do these things. But when we're all together, the energy is kind of really good, because it's kind of, we see each other less and less, I suppose, just because of the reality of day-to-day life.
I can only try to make things feel alright when I can stop myself wondering about when I wake up with the sun strike me down. Will clouds gather me up and find me?
It's expensive for us to tour. That's our only problem, is it does cost us a lot of money, because there's so many people in the band, and because effectively it's me and Neil that are signed to the label, so when we tour we have to pay everybody, and it costs us like £1,500 per gig that we do. It's a lot of money. It's seriously expensive. So That's why we don't get out as much as we'd like to anymore, because it's kind of, I guess the financial thing's kind of taken over a bit, you know. It's not as cheap as it was to do things, which is frustrating, certainly.
Just give me a room to be quiet in, where I can think by myself. There's so much going on here. I just need to collect myself, so why can't I just tell you what's on my mind? Give me a look to say it's okay. Come and rescue me. Come rescue me.
It took 2 years of writing, I would say. I spent about a year writing on my own. Then I met Joe. We kind of had a connection. Although we'd known each other for years and years, but we kind of basically started going out. And I'd just been doing loads of 4 tracks. And him being a musician, he said, "Oh, let's hear what you've done." So I kind of tentatively shoved a tape, you know, and still quite shy about it all because it is really kind of new territory for me, and not being that confident in myself, I suppose. And Joe listened to stuff, and we just kind of worked, and we started writing some things together, where he wrote music and I wrote lyrics and you know, vocal melodies to his music, because he'd been writing for years anyway. And it just all kind of came together. And then David, who produced it, he was an assistant engineer on Out of Tune. And for 2 years I kept bumping into him out and about, and he's just always like bugging me, "When are you going to do your own record? When are you going to do your own record?" It's like, "I don't know, I'm working on it," you know. But kind of like it had to be David in the end, because he was always just on my back in a lovely way, very enthusiastic. And just him and Joe, for me, is just 2 people that really believed in me and kind of gave me the confidence to really do it. And I kind of needed to be shoved from various angles to get it done. And I'm glad I did, you know.
Wanna see those autumn rains come out and bloom today. Just the way the dreams of summer. Take a walk down by the river today. Watch my travels flow down the stream.
Mojave's kind of the next thing, but certainly I'm still writing and we will do more records. It's kind of like now that I've kind of got to that point finally after 12 years of finally writing myself and singing properly. It's been really liberating, and yeah, of course I want to carry on. A bit lying if I said I didn't, but I'm happy to do Mojave as well. We kind of make it work, we have to juggle things, but...
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.